everybody? I am so excited to welcome Harry Hart-Browne back to the channel. Welcome, Harry. I'm going to let my cat in, otherwise he's going to mew.
Let the mewy cat in. My puffin's on the couch behind me, snoring.
Welcome, Harry. I'm so happy to have you back, and I think it's really well timed. And here he is.
Hello. Who is this cat?
This is Jack, and Jack adopted us. He just started coming around, and then he just made himself part of the family. Somehow won over our dog, and
wow.
So he has earned his place for sure at the table. Yeah, he's a sweet, really sweet
Gorgeous.
cat. So I wanted to have you on because I just think it's really, I think it's a good time to remind ourselves about the good in the universe and the fun in the universe and the happiness in the universe, and just take a break from all the mucky muck that's happening because it just is.
Are there problems now in the world? I hadn't noticed.
Well, there's a few. But
yeah, a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a theme I wanted possibly to explore with you later, if there's time, which is the idea of redemption and turning things around when people have come to Jesus or come to the light moments. Because I think that's important now in terms of getting us all together and forgiving and understanding everyone's trying their best.
Right. But I would love to talk to that. I would love to talk about that with you. I want to start just because now Harry, just in case you don't know him, he's an actor. He's a storyteller. He has a YouTube channel, Harry Hart-Browne, and he tells the most amazing, whimsical, interesting, fantastical stories, which he calls Holy Mackerel Moments. And they're amazing. They're always uplifting, always make you think, always make you kind of in awe and in wonder, which I love. But for those who don't know you, Harry, where do you come? Where does Harry come from? Where did you come from, Harry? And also, what was your tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey coming up in the world.
Sure. I'm from the outskirts of Flemington, New Jersey, and spiritually, it probably started with my acting at age whatever second grade is. I was cast in as the second brother in The Three Golden Pears, I'll have you know.
Lucky.
But on the first day of rehearsal, when I walked up on that stage, instead of sitting in the audience, which one usually does in the auditorium to see something, I was going to go on the stage to rehearse a play, and I knew I was home. And years later, a psychic told me, you felt so at home because it's in your DNA. It's in your blood, acting. And she saw me in a past life as a stage actor in the 1880s in England. She saw me as a film actor in the 1920s in early Hollywood doing silent films. And she said, I was so enamored with the idea of performing that I even incarnated in Italy one lifetime to be an organ grinder's monkey. She said, what could I say? I believe it. She said, you were treated very well. It was a happy lifetime. I said, well, good. That's wild. Anyway, so after I got that taste of it again in second grade, I couldn't stop acting. And so I was in as many plays as possible. Studied acting in Boston, moved to New York. When I was in New York, my friend Robert turned me on to the Seth Books, The Nature of Personal Reality by Jane Roberts. And apparently that's how Marion Williamson.
What year was that, Harry? Was it like 80s, 90s?
No, I graduated in 74. It's around 76.
Okay.
Not 1876, unless it was another life. And apparently that book started Marion Williamson on her journey too, or that set of books, the channeled Seth material books by Jane Roberts. Do you know of them?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they my circuits blew open when I read them because it was like being reminded of stuff I already knew, but needed to be reminded of. You know, we create our own reality and thoughts and things. And It's all love. It's all unity, but deep and complex. And I went, oh my God, I could be high on 1.5 pages for the whole night because it was very dense and yet written in a way I could understand. That made me want to blend my acting desires with my spiritual interests. So when I got to LA, I wrote a spiritually themed one-person show called Special Delivery, a 20-character one-man play about remembering the spirit while doing the Earth gig. And I performed it all over and it is on YouTube, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Darn good. I looked at it recently. I went, damn, Harry, how'd you do that? I think I was being guided.
I was going to say, clearly a channeled thing, because that's...
It was, once I opened up to doing it, I got my notes every morning. Like, what's today's scene about? It's about the Schlocker character, and why not have him do that? It really was like I was channeling. Right. And the whole idea is I'm an actor in spirit, and I want to be in a play. So my higher self says, do you want to play Harry Hart-Browne on Earth? I go, okay, what's that? You go, oh, you'll see, but you're going to forget about us, your spirit friends and me, once you're there. I said, yeah, right. As if I could forget about you. And then, of course, I incarnate and go, where the hell am I? And higher self goes, Harry, remember? I go, what? And I forget. Right. And so during the course of the play, his efforts to remind me finally bear fruit at the end, because I'm in need, going, help. And he comes through. I go, oh, it's you. You're the one who sent me here. I remember now. Anyway, it's really good. So that was years ago. And then in more recent years, a friend of mine told me about a book called The Boy Who Saw True, which is the actual diary of an 1880s English boy who was highly clairvoyant and did not know it. So he could see dead Uncle Willie, and he could see auras and fairies and spirits, and had no idea why his parents couldn't see them, had no idea why his friends either mocked him or told him he was crazy. And he began to feel really alone with these gifts until he finally found some allies who said, well, that's interesting. What else do you see? And he would talk, and he got a lot of support. And once he felt supported and open, he began to channel these kind of ascended master type spirits who gave forth with information on how reality works and, you know, the meaning of life kind of stuff. So it's a beautiful book. It's available on Amazon, and I bought it and I condensed it to about an hour, 20-minute show. And that's what I've been doing in recent years, along with the Holy Mackerel Moments YouTube channel, which, as you say, it celebrates life synchronicities. It talks about nature communication and visits from departed loved ones and all that fun stuff.
Now, what were both your first, the first one-man show, but the second one as well, what are people's general reactions to it? I mean, does it
resonate strong?
Yeah.
This wonderful woman, Judith Hendra, invited me to her home for tea, and I said, could I read 5 pages of this thing I've been thinking about, which was The Boy Who Saw True? She said, sure. So I read it. She said, I'm intrigued. Let's do it. So she helped me in my first performance. But before I did it, I kind of rehearsed at her home in front of some friends. And I believe the first time I did it in her living room, one of her friends was in tears afterwards. And she said, now I understand this stuff is real. I was in Ireland 2 summers ago, and I was walking on a certain path, and I burst into sobs knowing that I'd been there before. I know I'd had another life before, and your show just affirms that stuff is real, and there is no death, and we do have multiple lives, and it's all about the love, and blah, 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 blah. So I've been getting lots of positive feedback along those lines, people, you know, relating to it. Some of the audience members are much more clairvoyant than I am, but about as clairvoyant as the boy I depict. So, and some of them said, I was an outcast. I saw stuff. I didn't know what the heck it meant. I tell people and they go, what? You know, and I thought, oh, I'm weird. And then they too found their allies and began to bloom. People love the show. Because you know what else, Kim? It's so funny because he's a kid. I guess he's 7 or 8 years old. So he's curious about sex and dirty words. And, you know, he's very kind of mischievous and very outspoken, and it's Victorian England. And so, you know, you can't say the word belch without getting into trouble. let alone dead Uncle Willie's waving to us right now. I mean, the stuff he saw was so outlandish, and his mother was so uptight about, social norms, that when he started saying, I see stuff, oh, there must be something wrong with the child's eyes. Perhaps he has a mental problem. And so he was put through all of that. But his spirit was so strong. He knew he was right. He knew he saw Jesus, who gave him comfort at night when he was crying. And Jesus would say, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And he felt better. But yeah, people love it.
Well, and I just wanted to bring this in because this person has true in her thing. And she's saying, OMG, so wonderful to see you, Harry. True Gale 1443.
Thank you, True Gale. Wonderful to be your seagull too, or your dove of peace too.
Dove of peace.
Do I know True Gale? I don't know.
I do. Well, she knows you. You have lots of people who know you that you don't know them yet personally, but maybe you will.
Oh.
I thanks everybody for being here. By the way, I wanted just to say hi to everyone in the chat and hanging out with us. And please feel free to put your little, probably not long stories, but if you have little snippets of a holy macro, your own holy macro moments, please share them. And do you like to get emails, Harry, from people that share their stories? Do you like to,
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So reach out to Harry because he has the most wonderful stories, and I know that he's used mine. He's used my stories before. He's used other people that he knows, and everybody has these. I remember I was with an aunt she was in a hospice, and she was kind of in her last little part of life in the last couple of weeks, and we were all there as a family. And I have one cousin who's extremely linear. He's in the sciences, in the medical field, very, and then I had another cousin who's into politics. He worked as a lobbyist, and he was in that world. Wow. And in that time frame, we started talking about these kind of synchronicity moments. And I was sharing some of my ghosty things and spirit things and things like that. And they both had their own stories that I never would have guessed, but they had their own stories of, I don't know what it was, but I know it wasn't something, from this earth.
When you go first, that gives them permission to kind of edge out of their metaphysical closet and go, well, it's like, oh, really? And so it emboldens them to give credence to their experiences, which is wonderful.
Absolutely.
I have a bunch of stuff I'd like to share.
Please do. Yeah, and could you explain to people what a holy macro moment is, so they know what we talk about when we say holy macro?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I consider it a moment of amazing synchronicity. They happen in little tiny ways in everyday life. Like my most recent one was, I was in the store about to buy bok choy, and something said, don't buy it. And I didn't know why, because I could afford it. I needed it. I liked it. I wanted it, but I didn't buy it. And then later that day, a friend of mine said, do you want this? 2 huge things of bok choy she gave me as a present. So no wonder I was impulse not to buy it at the store. I was going to get bunches of it free in about 2 hours. I didn't know it, but some part of me did know it. So that's like a little ding.
Right.
But a more major example of what I would call a holy mackerel moment, the 2 ones I always talk about are the Little Mermaid balloon that the girl released in Lone Pine, California, a Mylar balloon of a big colorful picture of the Disney Little Mermaid. Released it with her name and address attached to the string. It landed, it turns out, 2,500 miles away on Prince Edward Island off the coast of Maine. And the couple who found the Little Mermaid balloon found it stuck in a bush at the edge of Mermaid Lake in the town of Mermaid. Yeah. Yeah. I kid you not. You can't make it up.
You can't. That is great. And that is like, the things that actually happen in life are crazier than fiction. They really are. They cannot, like you said, you can't make it up.
Yeah.
What stories do you have, or what do you have for us today, Harry? What stories do you have for us? Because I can't wait.
Oh, I can't either. I've been so excited. I feel so, once in a while you feel the oneness. you feel it and you kind of know it. And it's beyond words. And I've always liked dot-to-dot books. And so my recent experiences have been like connecting the dots.
Uh-huh.
And what I'd like to share starts with doing The Boy Who Saw True as a performance piece, going onto the Amazon website and reading the reviews of the book, the actual diary. And as I scrolled down, I saw one comment said, "This book reminds me of Leslie Stringfellow." I thought, what? It's a book called The Afterlife of Leslie Stringfellow. I thought, I've never heard of him. So I looked it up and I found out that in the 1880s, this couple in Texas had a son named Leslie who died suddenly at the age of 20, and they were insane with grief because he was the light of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So they went to see spiritualists who didn't really give them anything substantial. But one lady down the road said, be your own spiritualist, buy a planchette, do a Ouija board. She said, you can either put the letters of the alphabet and do it that way, or you can take your planchette, outfit it with a pen on a big piece of blank paper, and then the automatic writing will come as the spirit works through you. So the mother and father were desperate and open. So one night they put their hands on the planchette. Whoa. It was Leslie from the other side saying, hi, I'm fine. And he described the afterlife in a nightly session at 7 o'clock every night with his father and mother for 15 years.
Oh my gosh.
And they ended up with a book of all his, it's kind of like Earth here. There are buildings and neighborhoods and plants and people and friends. It's a lot nicer. And we go to concerts and lecture. I mean, it felt so real. And so I found that really interesting. And when she finished compiling her transmissions from Leslie, she was aware of Arthur Conan Doyle, the writer of the Sherlock Holmes mysteries, who was alive at that time. And his mission in life was to share with people that death does not exist. And he came to that because he lost his young son in World War I and endeavored to establish contact with him after that, and believe he did. So the woman sent her Leslie notes to Arthur Conan Doyle saying, you're into this. What do you think? And he wrote back, he said, this feels totally authentic to me. I would publish it. So she self-published it. I told this to my friend Kate. She said, that's interesting. You might be interested in this book, Harry, ... called Arthur and Me. I had no idea it existed. It's about a woman who communicates with Arthur Conan Doyle from his perch on the other side. See, first he's on Earth with his son on the other side, and on the other side talking to this lady. And this is part of what I want to share today, because her story is phenomenal. By the way, there's a follow-up book, if anyone's interested, called The Vortex.
Oh, interesting. These are fascinating. I'm going to have to look. Now I'm going to be getting a bunch of books. And
they're really good. The lady's very analytical. It's in great detail. And I go, okay. But then boing, these amazing things happen. She was a finance lady, totally corporate.
Oh,
totally
really?
What you said about the scientist or whoever was not
very
right.
Yeah.
And so this wasn't into, huh?
Materialist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. Earthbound, physical stuff. It's real. That's the only thing that's real. Well, one day she saw a really vivid mental picture of a horrible car accident, and it came and went, but it was vivid. She thought, what the hell was that? 3 days later, she opens the newspaper. It's an article about a car accident with a photograph that exactly matched the mental picture she had received. She said, what's going on with me? And that's what put the question in her head of her that's what started her spiritual path. So she began to meet with other like-minded people to explore clairvoyance and other dimensions and stuff. And they decided to sit, maybe 6 people once a week, and just take a few deep breaths and be open to spirit and go where they were guided. Well, Arthur Conan Doyle showed up early on and said, I'm going to help you guys with this endeavor. You should know, as you explore mediumship, it will be physical mediumship. And they thought, what does that mean? Basically, it meant we move stuff. We move physical stuff around.
Yeah.
So as the group met every week, they became used to floating tables and chairs banging into walls. And, it's like, oh, that chair's at it again. I mean, they became so used to it. Yet they knew if they told other people, they kept meeting and getting more and more information and clues like breadcrumbs, kind of like a Sherlock Holmes mystery. Go to this place, find that out. And basically they were told, you need to find another building to hold your meetings at, and we will help you find it. So over the course of years, they were finally led to Edinburgh, Scotland. And Spirit said, you will know it's the right building when you think of Gone with the Wind. I thought, what? So they found a building on the corner in Edinburgh, 6 stories high. You open the door, it's this huge entryway with a huge sweeping staircase, just like Tara and Gone with the Wind. And they went, this is it. This is the one they've been talking about. So they moved the Arthur Conan Doyle Center. They established it in that building, refurbished it. It became this buzzing hub of workshops and healing sessions, and people loved it. And it became open to artistic events, stage plays, musical events, lecture, you name it. So the next series of things I like to share are what happened with them in that building.
Yeah.
They wanted to celebrate their first anniversary. And Anne, who wrote the books, whose point of view is always where I'll be talking from, she was on a bus reading the newspaper, and there was a picture of Arthur Conan Doyle in the newspaper. She thought, he's been dead for years. I think about him a lot, but why is he in the newspaper? And it was an article about a nearby school that had an ancient sycamore tree in the yard that had to be chopped down because it was deemed dangerous. The owner of the school discovered that that school building had once been Arthur Conan Doyle's childhood home, and that he had played in that tree as a boy. So he commissioned a musician to make a violin out of wood of that tree, because Arthur Conan Doyle and Sherlock Holmes loved the violin. And then he went on and made another violin and a viola and a cello out of that wood and formed the Arthur Conan Doyle Quartet of musicians who played music with those instruments. And so when she found that out, she called the people and said, blah, 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 we're going to celebrate the first anniversary. And the man who was in charge said, oh, I'll compose a musical piece just for the occasion. And we 4 musicians will come and play on the Doyle musical instruments for your celebration. And they did. But if she hadn't opened the newspaper on that bus, none of that would happen.
See.
So that's one cool thing. And then another was years later, she was part of the Fringe Festival. Very prestigious theater festival in Edinburgh. Lots of solo plays, lots of all kinds of theater. And she wanted to present the Arthur Conan Doyle experience, but had no idea what it was going to be. She kind of, just threw it out there and thought, wing it, you'll think of stuff. And she did. And she was able to get those 4 instruments from the quartet to be on display. She thought, what about artwork? Well, she was reading a book. She knew that Arthur Conan Doyle's father had been an alcoholic and committed to an asylum and had a pretty tragic life. What she didn't know was that he had been an artist. And she went, oh, that's interesting. So there was a young intern working near her on the computer who looked really bored. She didn't have much work to do. So Anne said, if you're looking for something to do, could you check into Arthur Conan Doyle's father and see if that artwork is available online anywhere? Maybe we could get a photo of a painting and blow it up to be part of our presentation for the Fringe Festival. She said, sure. Well, a few hours later, the intern said, here's what I found out. He was an artist. He had about 30 pieces. A private gallery owner bought the entire collection. It's been sitting in file cabinets for years. They've never been on display. I called him. When I told him what we want to do for the Fringe Festival, he said, oh, well, rather than send you a photo of 1 or 2 paintings, why don't I send you all the paintings?
Oh my gosh.
I'll take them out of the file cabinet. I'll have them framed and I'll ship them to you for your event.
Oh my gosh.
And he did. So now they had the entire collected works of his father's art on display for the first time ever.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I know. And then you come to find out Arthur Conan Doyle's father, grandfather, and 3 uncles were all successful professional artists. And all of them loved painting a particular subject matter. And what they loved to paint the most was fairies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, isn't that fun? So that was the cool thing that happened with that.
Oh, that's amazing.
2 more goodies.
Yes, please.
Anne was manning the reception desk in the center one night. No one else was in the building. She's about to close up. The door opens. A big burly man walks in with a little terrier on a leash. He goes, "Are you the lady in charge here?" She goes, "Yes." He goes, "Then here's where I meant to be. May I show you something on my phone?" She said, "Sure." So he took out his smartphone and pressed it, and it was a video of a nighttime sky filled with orbs. And then it cut to what looked like the inside of a large barn swirling with orbs. He said, "Do you know what these things are?" She said, "Well, some people feel they are dust particles. Other people feel they are spiritual entities." And he said, "I think the second one," he said, "I call them spirit lights. And I found out they talk to me and I talk back to them." She said, "Really?" He said, "Yes, the reason I'm here is I worked at a ranch far away taking care of the horses. I love horses. My employer was cruel to them, and I was very distressed to see how he treated them. And when he started making me dig the graves for the ones he had killed, I was losing it. I was in such anguish about it. I had to get out of there, and yet it was my only home and my only source of income. It was my job, it was my employment. When I was at the height of my anxiety, that's when I saw the orbs in the sky. And then it came into the barn where I was staying. And that's when they started talking to me, and I talked to them. And I said, "What do I do?" And they said, "You get on a train, you pack up your bag, you get on a train to Edinburgh. You get off at the Haymarket station, not the Waverley station. After you get off the Haymarket station, you walk until you see this building." And he said, and I was shown a mental picture of this building. So I got my bag, I got on the train, I got off at Haymarket, I started walking, I saw your building, and here I am.
Oh my God.
They said, "Talk to the lady in charge," and that's you. So that's why I'm here. And she went, "Wow."
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's amazing. She said, I don't know how I can help you." He said, "Well, I need a job, obviously. Do you know any jobs with horses? I love horses." She said, "No, we're nowhere near any ranches that I know of, and I don't know of any horses in Edinburgh." He said, "Oh, okay." She said, do you have a place to sleep tonight?" He said, "No." She said, "Well, I really can't ask you to stay here." He said, "Don't worry, I'll find a place." So he left. And she said, "Come back tomorrow. Let me know how you're doing." He said, "Okay." So he came back the next day. She said, "Did you find a place?" He said, "I found a nice doorway with Archie, my dog. We were out of the wind." She said, "No shelter?" He said, "All the shelters I went to wouldn't accept Archie, and I would not be separated from him. So I slept in the doorway. I'll be fine. May I show you something else on my phone?" She said, "Sure." Have at it. We've gone this far. He had been a welder by trade, and he made these incredible metal sculptures of horses, and they were beautiful. So he showed her his artwork, and she said, that's amazing." He said, "Yeah, I really enjoy doing it, and I would love to get a job with horses. Well, I'm off to look for a place to sleep tonight. Bye." She said, "Come back." He said, "I will." He was pretty cool about the whole thing, but she was kind of worried about him. Couple hours later, the phone rang. "Hi, it's a couple days before Christmas, and me and my girlfriend thought we'd get psychic readings. We'd buy for each other for Christmas presents. Do you have any openings?" And she thought, "Oh God." And she is clairvoyant. She was the only one there, and so she had some time. She said, "Come on over." They said, "Okay." And they were sweet. They were giggly. They were like young. And she read the first one, has no memory of what she saw. But when the second one sat down and closed her eyes and saw a mental image of people in a ring, grown-ups and children, walking horses in a circle. in the ring. She said, do you have anything to do with horses? She said, well, yes, I have a place that teaches riding to disabled children. She said, oh, do you happen to need anyone to work with your horses? She said, the man who worked with our horses just left us, and we are looking for someone.
Oh my gosh.
I know. She said, well, I might have someone for you. She said, well, it's hard work and basic pay, and they really have to love horses. She said, I still think I have someone for you. She said, well, there's a big trailer on the property where he could stay. And she said, okay. He's an artist also, makes beautiful sculptures. She says, oh, well, there's a workshop on the property too that he could use as an art studio.
Oh my gosh.
She said, well, he has a dog. She said, the children would love that.
Oh,
So,
oh.
long story short, he got it. He got the job, stayed in the trailer, did his art in the studio. Archie the dog loved the kids. He loved the horses. Everybody got along fine. And his metal sculptures of horses were so well thought of. He was commissioned to do a piece of sculpture for the Royal Highland Art Show.
Oh my gosh.
And that's that story.
Oh my gosh. That is crazy. That's crazy.
And so I don't know if it's saving best for last, but this one really brings it up to the present moment because we're talking about people in the 1800s and stuff, but you know, there's no time. And so Anne wanted to not only extend the benefits of the Arthur Conan Doyle Center to artistic people and woo-woo people and healing people and like that. She wanted to, you know, the linear, physical, she wanted to contact scientists who were open to spiritual stuff. And she did. And they had a 3-day retreat, she and the scientists, to talk about basically how to save the world. She saw a mental picture of a man in old-fashioned clothes showing off his white gloves, making sure they were on tightly, holding a baton, tapping a music stand, tap, tap. She had no idea who he was. She mentioned it to the scientists who were in the room with her. And someone said, that's Tesla. That's Nikola Tesla, the father of clean energy, of wireless electricity, the man with the incredible inventions that weren't given much credence at the time because they were not profitable. They were free, and the money people didn't care for that, but he was a genius. And he was making a joke with the baton. He said, well, I look like I'm going to conduct an orchestra, but what I really like to do is conduct electricity. And the man who knew about Tesla said yes, and he was a known germaphobe. That's why he always wore white gloves.
Oh my God.
So we're in touch with him, and what better person than we scientists? So they went on this 3-day weekend retreat to just, what's the word? Jam. What do you call it? Brainstorm.
Yeah.
You know, about ideas.
Yeah.
At the same time, there was a woman in an adjoining room giving Reiki sessions. So the plan was the scientists were going to talk shop, and then one by one they go have a Reiki session because they wanted to, a lot of them hadn't experienced that and they wanted to explore it. They were open to it. So at the beginning of the evening, they were all talking sciencey stuff. Anne went right over her head. She said, if you guys don't mind, I'll go first for my Reiki session. They said, sure. So she went in, lay on the table. The lady started working on her. Boing! She saw a mental picture of a contraption with elements and side notes of explanation and arrows. And she said, I don't know what I'm looking at, but I need to write it down. So she grabbed a pencil and paper and made a diagram of this picture in pretty great detail. She went back to the room where the scientists were and said, I just saw an image clairvoyantly. I don't know what it means, but may I share it with you? They said, of course. So she copied it onto a large board. And one of the men said, I know that, that's a, and he named some name of a device. And he said, I've been working on this for a long time, trying to get the elements in the correct order. Oh, I see. Oh, that makes sense. Now I understand how it works. Thank you.
Oh my God.
She said he looked like the cat who just got the cream. His answer had been resolved. That weekend gave birth to a group of scientists who are working to this day on turning things around.
Wow.
She said, I'm going to read this part. I found myself in the midst of a group of international scientists trying to save the planet. Their research showed them that something must be done in the next few years. And the spirits, by the way, were telling them, we are working with you guys. There are a lot of you that are open to spirit, and we are feeding you ideas and giving you dreams and inspiring you as much as we can. One of the scientists wrote, we are developing a new class of energy technologies beyond fossil fuels, nuclear fission, water, wind, and solar power. The diagram that Ann received is acknowledged by our team as crystal technology. The program, which was born that weekend, is now a fully funded network of inventors and scientists from all over the world, and there is a pilot initiative also to fund rapid ecosystem restoration in all communities. We have 3 laboratories and are on track to release the new energy paradigm in 2027. We have now engaged the world's first nations network to regenerate the climate from the bottom up.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Amazing. And something to go along with that, Harry, is since I think from the beginning of my channel, my guides have always said that we would invent our way out of this.
Really?
Yes, they've always said that we would invent our way out of this whenever I'd ask about the environment.
Wow.
So that goes along with that too. So there's synchronicity.
You guys are probably blabbing with these guys, with the scientists on Earth and up there.
We got it under control.
Can I just quickly add, if anyone's interested in this stuff, it's way over my head, but I'm very encouraged they're working on it.
Yeah, fascinating.
The group of scientists has a website, which is unifyingfields.org. Unifying Fields. All run together.org.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're on the case, man.
That is so encouraging. So
yeah,
it's great to know. Great to know.
No.
Thank you so much for those stories, and I love that they're all in this book and this woman, and it makes me think about, I do a show on Thursdays that I talk to different people in history, and it's a medium show where I'm mediuming it, and
You're great at it.
Feel like I still feel new, and every episode I'm nervous as anything, but I think it's it's part of why we're here, is to face our fears, right, and walk through the fire. So that's what I do every week. But
I know.
But with this woman talking to this, a person who is a famous person, and then talking to Nikola Tesla and other famous people, that that's the way that we perceive that, that we perceive people as famous, and why would they bother talking to me? I don't know. I don't know. They don't know me, and the woman that's talking to these people, and she doesn't know these people, and they're talking to her, but it really is. And I just want to let people know, let you know too, Harry, that people that they really, spirits are in service of humanity. They really, really want to help, and we're all one, right? So it isn't, we may see them that way, but they don't see it that way. And also they always say too that we've all been famous. We've all had lives where we've been famous. We've all had lives where we've been in different types of fame, right? Maybe a king, or whatever, the jester or whatever, but different types of fame. But we've all had that experience, and so. But we've all had lives where we've played different parts, like you said, played different parts and done different things, and that if you have a connection with a person who was famous, or you're very connected to what they did, or you're connected to their music, or that is resonance. that means you're resonating with them. And that's a spiritual thing. That's a spirit to spirit thing. And so don't think that because you love this person and that they're above you, they'd never bother with you, they don't know you. No, you're resonating with their work or with them, and that's a connection. And it's something to build on, right? You can talk to these people. You can have, and sometimes they even reach out to you just because they know we resonate. We're resonating.
Right. You've had spirits reach out to you and say, "Can I be next Thursday?"
Yeah, exactly.
They reach out to you.
They do. I mean, no, it's funny because I feel like I pick them, but then I'm like, no, I think they're picking. I think they're saying, I think I'm just picking up, and that's because when I figured this out with a couple of them, but when I kept getting what's his name? The recent president that I did in the 50s. What's his name? Eisenhower. I never, no offense to Eisenhower, but I never think of presidents. I never, ever think of him. And I kept getting him repeatedly coming in. And I just thought, they're picking me. I think I'm picking them, but they're saying, I have something to say.
Yeah. And may I say, when you first started doing that, I was so excited, especially not only the people, but the fact that they presented themselves visually to you, and the way they spoke were so distinctly themselves. I said, this is real. When you have Janis Joplin going, yeah, cool, man. And you have Martin Luther King Jr. sitting on a church pew.
Yes.
And you have, their unique selves coming forth with such an authenticity. The speech pattern, Robin Williams. Oh my God, he was funny. Somebody asked, when you died in the movie What Dreams May Come, how was it different from when you really died? And he said, well, when I really died, there were no cameras rolling. It's like, she's really channeling these spirits.
And it would make me laugh because I'd hear it in my head first, and I'd think, should I say that? Because there's some points where he'd say something kind of irreverent or something, and I think, should I say it? Like, I'm just gonna say it because it's coming through. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's great in the afterlife. I don't have to wait in line at Starbucks anymore. George Carlin, they actually let me through the gate or whatever they said. It's just great stuff.
I wanted to bring in just a couple of a question from Marlene had a question. I was wondering if you met other actors that were psychics or mediums, and have you met other actors that you've worked with that are interested in this stuff too?
Oh, definitely. I don't know if they were psychics, but they were are psychic, and are very interested in that field. One friend of mine said, I want to maybe do a stage show called Listen to the Whispers, because in her life she would listen to whispers and they would take her to good places. A lot of actors are open to that kind of thing. Oh, and the whole idea of, I don't know if I talked about this last time, but the idea of actors calling upon spirits to help them with their performances. Like I did a holy mackerel about Ann Miller working with Mickey Rooney in Sugar Babies.
Oh, no, please share. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was opening night. That was the kind of burlesque show that they did. I don't know when, but their film careers were not, it was kind of later in their lives, but they still had the old pizzazz, and they did this very successful kind of burlesque-based musical show called Sugar Babies. Lots of songs, lots of dances, So on opening night, they're in the middle of a duet. Suddenly something kicks into Ann Miller like she was hit by a bolt from the blue. And she said, I'd never sung like that in my life. I don't know what came over me. I was just incredible. And then when it was over, I thought, what happened? And one of my earrings fell off. She thought, no, they're usually double taped. So if I move my head quickly, one doesn't fly off and hit an audience member in the eye. So it was very unusual that it would fall off, but it did. And it rolled across the floor onto a piece of set that was on the floor of a sign. And the first part of this sign said J-U-D. And I picked up the earring, and that's when I heard her voice in my head. Ann, it's me. It's Judy. Judy Garland. And she went backstage. I have to talk to Mickey. He's changing. I have to talk to Mickey. She said, Judy was with us out there just now. She's the one who made me sing that way. He said, I know. I felt her too.
That is amazing. And yeah, what a presence, right? Judy Garland, what an amazing presence. And and that's the thing too. I think that, they really have, because they come through they've had lots of lives, right? But they come through as this person for us to talk to, or in that case, to perform. And I do think that they have an affection for that character, right? And that life. And I think that happens often, where they take these opportunities to kind of jump in and just have fun and be that again, because I kind of get that impression. And definitely I can see why she would have loved that character.
Oh God, yes. I mean, Judy loved to perform. She was alive. Her famous line at Carnegie Hall was, I'll stay all night and sing them all. Yay! And so it's a win-win. I mean, Ann Miller probably never looked so good singing, right. And Judy had a ball. And there's an interview with Austin Butler talking about he was about to record a song for Elvis, and he felt Elvis's presence, kind of champing at the bit. And psychically, Austin said, you want to perform now? Come on in, man. It can only help my performance. So he felt like for at least one of the songs, he was channeling Elvis's energy.
Oh, that's amazing. And it makes sense, because it's all, artists, that's what they do. I think they're channeling all the time. I really do. I think they're channeling, that even just being in alignment with your purpose, you're connecting with your higher self, and that's connected to everything, right?
Yes. Yeah. Did I tell you when it happened to me on stage once?
No.
I was playing a guy who had really died of AIDS. Only a few months after he died. The play was written by his best friend, Rebecca, and it included actual conversations they had had, which she remembered verbatim. So it was very authentic. It was very touching. The real Warren, who I played, was a performance artist. And he would have cabbages and zucchinis as puppets and make them talk. He's very whimsical and funny. Turns out my friend Vicky knew Warren and sent me pictures of him and a writing of her memories of him. So I started doing the play, and near the end of the run, I was very comfortable in the character, in my lines. It was second nature. So I was open to being inspired. And there's a scene near the end where I'm in the hospital bed being surrounded by my family saying goodbye to me because I'm about to die. Shortly after the scene began, I was ready to play it how I usually did, which was very emotionally. It's my mother. It's the last time I'm going to see her. I was crying and they were crying. It's very poignant. But on this night, I felt this stream of energy just trickle into my left temple and fill me up. I said, oh my God, Warren's here. And he guided my interpretation of that scene, which was not emotional. It was practical. As Warren, my mind said, okay, it's the last time you're going to see these people. You haven't really looked at your mother's face carefully. Look at it now. It's the last chance you'll get. Take pictures. Look at how her earlobe curves. Look at the line of her jaw. So he's like taking mental pictures of his family's faces. I went, this feels really authentic and just as valid as my interpretation, if not more so. It never would have occurred to me to go take pictures of their faces, but that's what I felt Warren was doing. Tick, 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 tick. Then I die, and there's a scene at the end of the funeral. Everyone sings Amazing Grace, but before that happens, I'm dead in the hospital bed for quite a long time. And I'm thinking to myself, I really want to look dead. because I've seen people on stage and their eyelids twitch, or you can see them breathing a little bit, or even on film sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I usually played that scene, I would hold my breath. So I'd be very still. But I was on stage so long, I had to take a breath sooner or later. And the voice that came in said, don't hold your breath. Breathe naturally, because it is so shallow, it will not be detectable. I went, oh, okay. So I started letting myself breathe, and it felt very shallow and even and relaxed. All of a sudden, I see my mother in front of me. She died 3 years earlier. Her back was to me. She had 2 huge white wings springing from her back, and she turned around and said, want to go for a ride? In my mind, I grabbed hold of the base of the wings and we whooshed up to the top of the theater. And now I'm in this dark space of peace and love, feeling my mother's energy, and the play's going on down there. I went, wow, I bet I really look dead now because I'm not there. So I'm just grooving with being with my mother. It's like, how have you been? And oh, you're happy, you feel so good. And so I'm focused on that. And then all of a sudden, down below me, I hear, amazing grace. I go, oh, the play. Oh shit, that's the funeral scene. Mom, I have to get back in my body for the curtain call. The play's about to end. She said, I know, honey, I know. Go ahead. And I was back in my body. The lights came down. I stood up. Lights came up. We took our bows, and that was the play. But that was an evening I'll never forget.
Oh my gosh. And that's so interesting, Harry, because that is a technique to have an out-of-body experience, is to do that really shallow breathing.
Oh, it is?
It is, yes. It's a type.
Oh, right, because that's something you wanted to do for a long time, right? And then you finally did.
I finally did. Yeah, but that is a technique where you kind of breathe, you just kind of keep having your breath be more and more and more shallow and relaxed. And wow. that is how you kind of get to that point where it's like mind awake, body asleep, basically. And then you can have an out-of-body experience. Oh, what a cool experience, though. What a great experience.
I know. I was so lucky.
And can I ask you, just, this is a little bit off the topic, but I just wonder could you talk a little bit about, because I'm thinking about it's the Oscars today. The Oscars are tonight. So, and we're talking all about acting, but I wonder if, there's this big, not a big controversy. This is little controversy with one of the actors being kind of an egomaniac now. And what has being in acting and among actors, what has that taught you about ego?
Ooh. I don't see that much difference from any other field, because I met some real self-involved narcissists in acting and out of acting. Mm-hmm. And I've met some absolute angels in all fields. Right. I mean, there's a actress in the 40s named Marsha Hunt, who's not a household word, but she was a star in the 40s. She was lead roles in very grade A prestigious movies. But she got blackballed because a fellow actor said she's a communist, and she wasn't. But she was liberal politically, but she was blackballed, and her career suddenly ended. And instead of getting bitter, she and her husband said, well, we have time on our hands. Let's travel the world. So they did. And she'd been very sheltered. Her young adult life was in studio, in MGM, on the studio all day shooting movies. And when she went out in the real world, she said to her husband, what is this phenomenon called refugees? And he said, well, those are people without homes, war-torn lands. They have no place to go. She said, well, that's terrible. We have to do something about it. And she produced an hour-long TV special to raise money to help refugees around the world. And she got Paul Newman, all these huge stars of the day, to talk about the facts of the situation, and did a lot of good on that front. And then years later in San Fernando Valley here in LA, she fought tirelessly to raise money for the homeless. And she became the honorary mayor of Sherman Oaks because of her good works. And then in her 90s, she wrote a song about marriage equality, saying, love is love, no matter who's doing the loving. And she lived to be 104, I believe. So I don't see much ego with Marsha Hunt.
that's such a great story, though, about a great example of just going with the flow of what going with the flow, not fighting against it, because she could have stayed in Hollywood and banged on every door until they let her back in, but she kind of just was in a surrender, acceptance, and just went on and had this an amazing life, right?
Yes, yes.
I love those kind of stories. I think about that. I always think about that with because my daughter she's a documentary filmmaker, and so I'm always sharing with her stories of don't give up kind of thing. But I always think of that with Lucille Ball, that she could have kept being the queen of the bees and stayed in Hollywood and been I'm gonna make it into Hollywood movies. But look at what she did when she just kind of went with the flow. She kind of met Ricky, and then she did radio, and then she did television, and then she made it back in the back door, back into movies, because she went with the flow of life. And she was meant to do all this other stuff. But I think it's those kinds of things are such a great example of just go with the flow. Yes. Don't fight and try to, that ego thing, right? Of trying to control and trying to make it happen the way I want it to happen. Like, no, just surrender and go with it. Right?
Absolutely. There was a mentality back then that TV was beneath movies. Mm-hmm. And if you're a film star, you don't deign to do television. And then as the work dries up in movies, a lot of actors kind of, well, I'll do this one guest job. And pretty soon they're only doing TV. A friend of mine worked with Bette Davis on a film called The Catered Affair. And he said he was at her house one night and they were watching an old movie and the end credits came up. And Betty said, "It's so funny, Ray." She said, "Most people in the world read these names, makeup, hair, lights, they don't know who they are, but these are people I've lived with every day in the studios. They're like my extended family." And he thought that was so interesting. Then Gary Merrill came home, her husband, because he had done a TV show. And she said, "How was your night?" He said, "Great. I had a wonderful creative experience on this TV show, and I worked with so-and-so, and she's a fine actress. It was really fulfilling and good." She said, "I suppose that's all right if you like television." He said, "Yeah, I suppose it's all right if you like being a working actor." And she said, "I'm a working actor. I am a movie star." They had this horrible fight. But, her ego was saying, "I'm a movie star, not TV." And then, of course, she did tons of TV. But,
yep.
Yeah. Right. But, yeah, Marsha Hunt just going with the flow.
Yeah.
Being led by her heart.
Yep.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Lucille Ball, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess that happened. Her transition from movies to television was via her love for Desi, right?
Yeah, and wanting to work together. Yeah. Wanting to kind of keep together as a couple.
She'd done the show on the radio, and they said, "We'll make it a TV series." She said, "Yeah, if Desi can be my husband." They said, "A Cuban with a white woman?" No. She said, "Oh, yes." And then they took a year to do stage shows like vaudeville with Lucy and Desi, showing what great chemistry they had as a couple. Got rave reviews, came back. CBS said, "Well, all right, but you have to cough up the insurance." Okay, that's when Carol Lombard visited her and said, "Do it." Carol was dead, but she came to her one night and said, "Do it. Put up your house for the insurance. You're going to be a success." And then the rest is history.
Oh, that's amazing. And so you wanted to say something, Harry, about redemption. And I want to give you that. I want to get back to that before we end our time together. But I wanted to, what would you like to say about that?
Thank you. I think it's so important now to have hope that everyone can open their hearts in time, even if it's not in this lifetime. And as you brought up last time, these wonderful stories about George Wallace, the racist who got it during this lifetime and felt remorse and asked for forgiveness. He apologized for his racist acts. And something you said recently really caught me off guard in a good way. I don't remember who you were talking to. I don't know if it's a Let's Chat or a Spirit Speaks, but you said kind of offhand, "Oh, Epstein's here. He's helping." I went, what? He's helping to get the files out. I went, what? I thought, wow, people can turn around and do good stuff. And so I read this story about, and I think it's applicable to we have to widen the tent for anyone who wants to act on behalf of humanity and oneness and compassion and love and kindness, even if they're not exactly who we want them to be. As Kamala would say, let's stress what we have in common rather than what separates us. And I read this story about a spirit who was having fun on the other side, but he wanted to do something. He's kind of antsy. And so his guide said, well, you can help those who are stuck in kind of the in-between world to come to the light, if they're ready. And he went, okay. He found himself on a mountainside with a man made of stone on the side of the mountain, looking down at a river. The river was red because the river symbolized the bloodshed that he had caused, this stone man, in past lives. And he was so appalled at what he had done, he paralyzed himself and had been that way for about 10 of our years, not even daring to move because he was so shocked and appalled at what he had done. Because now on the other side, he got the effects of his actions. And so the spirit approached him and said, are you ready to forgive yourself? And he kind of went, what? He said, we're ready to forgive you if you're ready to forgive yourself. And he kind of morphed from stone to human and just awash with tears, like endless sobbing. You mean I get another chance? I can do something good now? It's like, we wish you would. It's, oh, yes. Oh my God. And then he turned around, started doing his bit to good works, on earth or however he could from where he was to become the love that he was now embracing. And I think it's not only possible, it's inevitable for every soul to come to that point, even if it's way in the future or in another lifetime or in another dimension. I think we're headed toward living and knowing the oneness and the love that is everything. And that gives me hope too.
It does me too. And I think that's, so true. And I think that's what some of what you're saying reminds me of, the idea of kind of trusting higher order, trusting there's more to this than meets the eye, that although it seems everything is just exploding, and that at the same time you have tons of people waking up, you have tons of people realizing stuff they did not realize before, you have lots of people coming to the aid of other people, and some people that were on the couch not interested in anything going on in the world and just kind of doing their own thing, all of a sudden out and helping the people in Minneapolis and helping the people in Vermont and helping the people in LA. I just think we kind of, when we get to that point where it's just like, I don't know what's going on, then trust that we can't see everything and know everything, but that there is something going on that is pushing us to higher ground, from all different angles.
Yes. When you talk about the macro point of view and the micro, I love that. Because if you can get the big picture, the bird's eye view, you go, oh, it's unfolding as it's meant to. This is our evolution. This is the healing process. The toxins are being released. Yeah. So they can be exposed to air and sunlight to heal. It's like that view. I go, yeah, it's a little harder. We're in the middle of it. But
exactly.
It's random. No, people sign up for this. And on some level, they know what they're getting into. Yeah. Even if it's the most horrible thing, they go, I'll volunteer. I'll sacrifice myself for the higher good, or I'll go through hell just to have these other windows open for me and for others. Mm-hmm. It's astonishing.
Yeah.
How
wonderful we are. Exactly. And we're all, we're all working at it from different angles, but we're all here to do that. We're all here to do it. That's why we're here. So I totally agree. Yeah. So here, tell people what where your channel is and what may be coming up next for you.
Sure. If you could see the doohickey on the bottom of my face here, the spelling of doohickey, spelling of my name. called a crawl, a sign, a label. Anyway, if you spell that name, harryhart-browne.com, that's my website.
Okay.
And it's also the name of my, as you mentioned, the YouTube channel. So if you do Harry Hart-Browne on YouTube search, you should find my channel depicted with a little round circle of my face, and tap on that. You'll see a page, but tap on videos. Then you see all the Holy Mackerel videos and special delivery and some other odd things in there. So that's my YouTube channel. And then the website has kind of links to everything. My IMDb page about the acting and that stuff. And then I have tentative engagements coming up for The Boy Who Saw True, the stage play about the clairvoyant English boy. Nothing set in stone yet, but a lot of nibbles, and we would like to do it in the spring. So I'm hoping that'll happen as well. And then I do the mackerel moments whenever I'm inspired to. So it's kind of irregular, but I'm beginning to do them more frequently and of less duration. So they're shorter. I ask a friend, did you watch it yet? Harry, it's 10 minutes long. Yeah. They go, well, that's long. I go, oh, okay. So my last one is under 2 minutes. And the one before that is under 4 minutes. So I'm making them shorter and hopefully more frequent. So people will, it'll be easy for them to watch.
Well, you could have an intermission. You could have one story and then you have intermission, let people go get something to drink and come back. No, I love your channel, Harry. So keep them coming, please. And everyone, please visit Harry's channel and subscribe. It's, subscribing is it's one of the last few free things in this world. So, subscribe if you love it. So, thank you so much, Harry, for being here. Thank you, everybody. Have a great Sunday.
I'm all the work you're doing. You're really helping us and the world.
Thank you so much. I that's my only wish, really, is to just be a helper, right, in this world, this crazy world of ours.
Yeah, all right. Well,
everybody, thank you, Harry. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.